Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chicken Farmers of Ontario session at Canada's Digital Farm Show. We're just going to give it another few seconds to see if people are still joining the session. But just a reminder that today's session is being recorded, and you'll be able to post any questions or comments that you have in the chat and during the presentation. And once the presentation is over, our presenters, Carl and Chris, will answer the questions at the end. So maybe we'll just give it a few more seconds here, and then we'll get this show underway. All right, I see we are joining. We've got a few more people joining, and I want to be able to start the meeting on time. So maybe we should turn this over to the Chicken Farmers of Ontario, and Carl and Chris will be your hosts today.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you as well for joining the Chicken Farmers of Ontario session this afternoon. My colleague, Carl Stevenson, will be dealing with the Artisanal program, and I'm going to begin by sharing with you some insight into the new Entrant Chicken Farmer Program. My name is Chris Horbaz. I'm the Director of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs for the Chicken Farmers of Ontario, and as well, I'm the lead administrator for the program. So if you do have any questions after today's session, or you'd like to send me an email with any further questions, by all means, please do so, and I'll be pleased to assist you as best I can. What I'd like to do today is give you a bit of a program background information, some program fundamentals, talk to you about the application process, and then as Linda mentioned, we can take a few questions when I finish, or certainly we can take some questions at the end after Carl has also presented. So in terms of the program itself, the new Entrant Chicken Farmer Program, this will be the 9th year that it's being offered. It came into being in 2012. And over the first 8 years, there have been 28 families that have been approved and are currently very active farmer members in the chicken industry. Roughly 20 to 30 applications are received annually. So and this is a very good indication that the program does work, and applications can be developed and prepared for the purpose of applying to this program. With each application, you'll be required to submit a comprehensive business plan, and that business plan is reviewed by an independent panel. We have a couple of banking representatives, we have an accountant, we have a couple of farmer members, and they are tasked with reviewing each application, reviewing and evaluating each one, and ultimately at the end of those reviews, making a recommendation to the board of directors for up to 5 applicants. If the panel feels that only one application is deserving of support, then they will only recommend one. So it is up to 5 applicants that they can recommend, but it is strictly based on the merits of the application submitted. And before I go on, I just want to say I'm going to assume that most, if not all of you, who are on the call to hear me are interested in applying either this year or next year. So my comments will be about assuming that you're interested in applying to the program. So those are the program background in terms of how long it's been. Let me now share with you the program fundamentals, and some of you I'm sure have already read it and understand these, but maybe I can offer some more insight into them. Ultimately, this program is about giving you an opportunity to acquire the minimum number of quota units over a 15-year period. There are only two ways for you to become a chicken farmer in Ontario. One is to go and acquire 14,000 quota units from another chicken farmer, or you can apply to this program, be approved, and then be a participant in this program. And so either way, you need to have 14,000 quota units allotted to you. So the objective of this program is then to enable you to become a new chicken farmer and enter the chicken industry through the program. And ultimately, we are here to support you once approved to become accredited with all of the regulatory obligations that you would have as a chicken farmer, as well to be a successful chicken farmer. There's really only one technical requirement. That is, you have to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Ontario. But what the panel is really looking for are persons that are interested in becoming chicken farmers, who are passionate about wanting to be chicken farmers, and ultimately your business plan speaks to how you feel you'll be successful as a chicken farmer. We're all interested in you being successful. One aspect about the eligibility, though, is if any of you have family members that are involved in supply management, you can still apply for the program, but we will be asking you to indicate that you do have someone in the family that is in supply management. And while you can apply, you should know that when the panel reviews two equal applications, one from someone who doesn't have family members in supply management and another that does, priority will be given to that application if approved for the person who does not have supply management. The intent of this program is to support new individuals entering our industry. This program is not a succession plan for members of someone that's in a supply managed commodity. So that's why it speaks to a priority will be given to others. So in terms of quota holdings, you likely have a good appreciation and understanding that the chicken industry and being a chicken farmer is based on quota units, as are all the other supply managed commodities. In case for chicken, there is a minimum holding requirement of 14,000 quota units. And so if you are someone that has the financial means, and I think this relates to a question that was just posted, if you have the financial means and a farm location and possibly the financial means to build a new barn, or you already have a barn on that, you can enter the industry on your own. You do not have to apply through this program. So you go and you acquire 14,000 quota units. This program is about you going out and acquiring 4,000 basic quota units, 4,000 out of the 14. And if you are approved under this program, you are eligible to receive up to 10,000 new entrant quota. The experience to date over the 8 years has been everyone who has applied for 10,000 new entrant quota. And in a way that makes sense. If you do have the financial resources, you're likely better to apply that to building a new barn or buying a farm and doing things like that with the money rather than buying the quota. You might as well benefit from being eligible to receive 10. So if you're an approved new entrant, you need to acquire 4,000 basic quota units. The chicken board will allot you 10,000 new entrant quota. So now you have 14,000 like any other farmer and certainly any other new farmer that enters our industry. As I mentioned earlier, the board offers up to 50,000 new entrant quota annually. So if each one applies for 10 and is approved for 10, that means up to 5 families. So over the first 8 years, we've had a couple of years when 5 new families entered our industry. We had a couple of years where there were 4. And when the program started, there was only 20,000 new entrant quota available. So in the early years, only 2 new families entered the industry. But last year there were 4, and the year before there were 5 families joining. So that also reflects the quality of applications that come in on an annual basis. One of the requirements of anyone who wants to be a chicken farmer and who is a chicken farmer is that they must own the registered, we call it a registered premise. They must own the farm. They must own ultimately the barn that gets put on that piece of property. And so please visit our quota policy that speaks to requirements of ownership and corporate structures to ensure that if you do apply, you meet this important condition. If you are the applicant, there is a requirement that you ultimately own the property that the chicken barn will be located on and the chicken will be grown in. It is a temporary program in terms of it's only for 15 years, and it's temporary in that you get the new entrant quota on a temporary basis because, as I'll describe shortly, it will be canceled over a 15-year period. So on the next slide then, sometimes I get asked about, well, do I need a farm and do I need a new barn and ready to go when I apply? And of course the answer is no. What you are advancing is a comprehensive business plan that speaks to how you will enter into the chicken industry, what investments you'll be making, how much money you'll be making over time to be successful. So you do have 18 months to meet the requirements of the program, including acquiring the first 4,000 basic quota units that I previously mentioned. And so in terms of the repayment, in terms of being temporary, in terms of being a 15-year program, let's use an example of you've been approved for 10,000 new entrant quota units. In year 5, you will be required to acquire 3,000 basic quota units from another chicken farmer, and the board will cancel 3,000 new entrant quota units. In year 10, again, you'll be required to go into the marketplace and acquire 3,000 basic quota units from another chicken farmer, and the board will cancel 3,000 new entrant quota. And in year 15, when you should have 11,000 quota units that you've acquired and 4 that are new entrant quota, the board will cancel the final 4,000 new entrant quota, and you'll acquire the final 4,000 basic quota units. And therefore, it's taken you 15 years to enter the industry and acquire 14,000 quota units, which is the minimum quota holdings for any chicken farmer in Ontario. And over that time, you are required to maintain the minimum of 14,000 quota units. Final aspect of the program speaks to there may be some years once you're approved where you're thinking that maybe you should buy some additional quota, additional basic quota. And so if you do that in the first 5 years, then we automatically cancel new entrant quota equivalent to how much you would have gone out and acquired. So if in year 3, for example, you've decided you're going to go and acquire 2,000 quota units, then in year 3, we will cancel 2,000 new entrant quota units. So you will remain at 14,000. In years 6 to 15, the program does allow you to acquire, but a limited amount of new quota, and you can keep it, and you can add to it. So If in year 8, let's say, you acquire 2,000 quota units, you can keep it. There's no change to your program. So now you would have 16,000 quota units on which you'd be producing chickens, and you'd be allotted a certain supply based on 16,000 quota units. There are rules around how much you can acquire, and we call that supplemental business quota units. And I'd encourage you to look at the new entrant policy that speaks to what are supplementals and what are the impacts if you do acquire some over the first 15 years. Over the first 5, again, it's an automatic and equal cancellation. In years 6 to 15, there's a certain amount that you can add without any implication. Another aspect of being a chicken farmer is some of you who would have done some research for your application would have read or seen or discussed that the last number of years there's been some good growth. And when there's good growth, all farmer members receive new basic quota units. And so you, as a new entrant, you would be eligible like any other farmer having 14,000 quota units. You would be eligible to receive new basic quota units. And when you do receive that, we do not consider that to be supplemental. So, on day 1, you have 14. If over the next 5 years, there's growth in the industry and you receive some new basic quota units, that's just added to your 14 with no implications to any cancellation. And at year 5 and at year 10 and at year 15, it's possible that you may have accumulated some new basic quota units over that time. It's up to you whether you want to apply some of that against those that are canceled, or whether you just want to go out and follow your business plan and acquire basic quota units as per your business plan. When you're putting together your business plan, and because new basic quota units are not guaranteed, we do not know what the future lies for chicken farming, whether or not there will be growth, and if there is growth, how much. It is something that you cannot rely on. It's something that you cannot guarantee. So therefore, your financial statements that will accompany your comprehensive business plan should not include any expectation that you will be receiving new basic growth in the future. Your business plan should speak to acquiring 14,000 quota units over 15 years, and how will you finance that, and how will you manage a chicken farm in that period. So I'm sure all of you have already seen that on our website that we are accepting applications now. I didn't check today, but as of yesterday, I hadn't received any applications yet. But all of us being human, I'm sure I'll be receiving them on October 29th or October 30th. October 30th is the deadline, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So the application deadline date for this year is October 30th. Please appreciate that it's your comprehensive business plan. While you may call me to ask me about the program, and you can ask me about what's on our website, and you may even ask me, and I'm going to answer it now, so you don't really have to call me, about what makes a successful application. Neither myself or Carl or any other CFO staff associate will assist you with any aspect of completing your comprehensive business plan. So please, the onus is on you to do the appropriate research to complete your business plan in a manner that you see fit and you wish to desire. Now, we do have, as you know, many resources on our website, and of course we have some frequently asked questions about this program and other programs. But ultimately, it's again your responsibility or your ability to access these resources and put together a business plan on your own. The panel will only review what you submit. So please appreciate that. If the panel for some reasons finds that you're missing something, you've forgotten, or for whatever reason you decide not to do a 15-year cash flow, but you decided to do a 10-year cash flow, the panel will not call you and ask you for a 15-year cash flow statement. They will evaluate your application based on what's submitted. So please be aware of that. And in that regard, then I've used the term comprehensive business plan a number of occasions. So when I get asked what makes a successful application, I tend to provide insight into 4 areas. The first one, it has to be complete. Prepare all the financial statements that are typical of any business plan, and make sure you're speaking to everyone that you need to speak to. Make sure that you provide all the information that typically goes into a business plan. And the application form actually gives you some guidance in terms of what a typical application would look like, but it's up to you what you put in there. But completeness is certainly one aspect, and you're quickly disqualified during the review process if there's a number of key pieces of information missing. So you need to be complete. The second one, you got to be very comprehensive. And what I tend to share with those who are interested is, when in doubt, put it in. The more the better. And what you don't want to happen is the panel guessing what you meant to say, or whether or not you didn't provide enough information, and so they speculate what may be the reason. The more is better. The completeness is critical. The panel should look at your application and see that everything's there and do a review on it. They're also looking to see who you've spoken to. So have you spoken to certainly your banker, because your banker, you would want them to include a letter of whether or not they would provide financial support to you if you were approved. But how many processors have you spoken to? How many hatcheries have you spoken to? How many construction companies who build chicken barns have you spoken to? How many chicken farmers have you spoken to? Because throughout that whole process, that is where you're learning, and that's where you're gaining insight into what it takes to be a chicken farmer. Because ultimately, that should be your goal. Please don't chase the program. What's important is that, do you genuinely and truly want to be a chicken farmer? The program here is to help you get in, but you need to first ask yourself whether you want to be a chicken farmer and can be a successful chicken farmer. So speak to as many people as you can. And ultimately, the panel is looking for that passion that you have in terms of wanting to be a chicken farmer. And everyone can demonstrate that in different ways. It's up to you how you demonstrate it, but certainly having a complete and comprehensive business plan, showing that you've spoken to a lot of people that are in the industry. That's just one way or a couple ways of showing that you really care about wanting to be a chicken farmer. But if there are other reasons, then you should also convey that in your application. So finally, I've mentioned already, you've got over a month to go before you need to send it in digital format, please, PDF as well. If you do have an application ready by then, there's a non-refundable fee of $250. Please go online, do your online banking. There is an account 9999 there, and please forward your application fee and your digital application. That should include the form that's on our website, as well as your comprehensive business plan. If you need to send me three different PDF files because you have a large business plan, there's nothing wrong with that. If you can't combine it into one file, that's fine, no problem. If you can, great. If you don't, no worries. Just please do send it in. I will be receiving all the applications at this email address, newentrantfarmer@ontariochicken.ca. So you'll be receiving an acknowledgement from me that I've received it, and then you wait, and then the waiting game begins. There may or may not be an interview process for you. Sometimes when the panel gets near the end of having reviewed all the applications, and there may be a number of them that they feel are strong candidates, there's likely to be an interview process, but that's different every year, and I leave that up to the panel whether or not they want to have an interview process. But what I would say is it is a waiting game for you, and I'm sorry that it is, in terms of once you apply, you need to wait till you hear from me, and I will be communicating with you at the very end of the process, and I'll either have positive news or I'll have disappointing news. But please also note that in many cases, applicants who were declined the first time they applied again, and some were approved the second time. And I believe we even have one applicant that applied 3 times, and the third time was approved. So you are likely to be encouraged to apply again as part of my communications with you. But I would ask that you not call me in January or February or before the announcement, because there's really nothing I can say to you till the process is complete, until the panel has reviewed all applications, until it's made a recommendation to the board, until the board has approved the recommendations of the panel. And that's when I communicate to you. So I know some of you will be anxiously awaiting something, but I promise something will come, and it'll either be good news or news of encouragement. So that is the process. I hope that's been helpful to all of you who are interested in applying to this program, who are already in the midst of preparing one. And so I'll be pleased to take a few questions, and I hope I've been able to answer the ones that were posted while I was presenting.
Chris, could we just go back to the first question that did come in?
Sure.
So I'll just read it off in case people
please.
don't have their chat open. So what if a young farmer is interested in getting into the industry now, but farmer members are not ready to sell for another 10 plus years? So this sounds like they have family members that are quota holders or in a supply management business. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they can still go through this new entrant process. However, you had talked before a little bit about what if there's a tie.
Right.
Can you just
Right.
reiterate that?
Yeah, and so if we've interpreted this question, if it is someone whose parents, for example, are, we'll keep it local. If they're chicken farmers, and the son or daughter know that the parents are getting out of the industry in 10 years, but it's going to be a while, can they apply for the program? Again, yes, they can apply, but priority will be given to those that don't have mothers and fathers who are in the chicken industry. And I would say, to date, the panel has not reviewed many situations where there is that direct linkage, because I think applicants appreciate that is more of a succession planning approach than applying for this program. What does occur is that my parents were chicken farmers 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and I've been off to university, and I started my own family, and those then the panel and what you need to do is describe that scenario, and then that'll be considered kind of a different scenario. So there are scenarios like that, or my grandparents had a chicken farm, and so that you need to share with us what if anyone has been a dairy farmer in your business, in your family, or chicken or turkey or eggs or broiler breeders, you need to explain that as part of the application process. But depending on how direct or how close in terms of time, priority will be given to other applicants. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Chris. And I think you answered the second question as well. The question is just about new entrants able to receive allotments. I'm interpreting that if the board, when they make a decision on a yearly basis, if there are extra units to be handed out, that's.
Yep, if the industry has experienced growth and the board has made a decision to provide new basic quota units, then a new entrant farmer is considered like any other farmer who holds 14,000 quota units. Very good questions. Great. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Okay, maybe we'll move on with my presentation, and if anyone has any questions for Chris at the end, we can cover those off as well. So I'm Carl Stevenson. I'm the Community Programs Operations Manager and Flock Advisor. That's the main hat that I wear at the CFO. I do quite a few other things that when I'm asked, one being looking after the Digital Farm Show, which I'm glad to do. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the Artisanal Chicken Program. It, like Chris's program, is open right now for applications. The program was designed about 5 years ago. We're in our 5th year now, so I guess it was designed 6 years ago. And it was designed as a way for smaller farmers quite often smaller acreages to be able to get into the poultry industry. Now, we do have some larger farmers that are involved as well, but it was aimed more at the smaller farm setup for another avenue for them to make money on their farm. So it's aimed at that smaller farmer. You're able to raise between 600 and 3,000 birds per year. It's an application based, so your application is based on what you assume that you will be able to sell. Quite a few farmers start off in our family food program, which allows you to raise up to 300 birds without having to buy any quota. And the artisanal program, there's no quota as well, but anyone can participate in that family food program up to that 300 bird level. Again, it's for non-quota based farmers. With the family food, you're limited to on-farm sales only or farm gate sales. With the artisanal program, because you participate in our on-farm food safety and our animal care programs, we allow you to permit or to sell off farm, and we'll talk a little bit about those avenues in a later slide. So the application window, as I said, is already open for the 2021 season. It will likely be open till March 1st, partially depending on how many people are interested. We've seen a huge growth in the number of people that are interested in raising their own food and selling. The family food growers, there's 27% increase in the number of farmers participating in that program this year. The number of birds that they've been raising is raised by 31%. So there's a lot of interest in providing locally raised food out there. What you do if you're interested in applying, you go to artisanalchicken.ca. There is a button just right there underneath the top banner that takes you to the application form. I recommend that if you're interested, go in, read through the application form first, because there's quite a bit of data that you need to be able to provide there, and some may need some thinking and discussion. some exploration. So ideally, you kind of take a look at that application form first and see what we're looking for. Once the application comes in, I review the applications. I will reach out to you. If there's information missing, I will ask you to submit it to me in an email. And then in past years, I would always come out and do a farm visit. I'm not doing farm visits. This year, we'll work at some way to do a virtual farm visit. So I may ask for you to send me in photos of your existing production area or plant where you plan on building some production area to move into the artisanal program. And of course, I need a water test, and it's just a regular health unit water test showing me that you've got potable water on the farm. I let you know when we're done this discussion whether or not I'm prepared to take your application forward. So unlike Chris's program, we do a fair amount of consultation with farmers to make sure that everything is there and ready. I'm not the one, though, that makes that final decision. I take my recommendation back to our team, and there's 3 of us that are part of that team. We review, and then we take and send those applications to the board for their approval. Even though I've got about a dozen applications in so far, and I've started to reach out to them, I'm not going to be taking any applications to the board until January. So just to set that timeline sort of in your mindset, reason being those that are participating in the artisanal program right now get first chance to renew their license for the following year. So we work through that process starting at the end of October through to December to make sure that everyone that's been involved has that opportunity, and then we open it up at that time to take further applications to the board. Once the board has made their decision, we will be back to you very shortly afterwards. It's usually the next day. We try to flip it around pretty quick. We'll send you an email, and you'll have an opportunity to accept the offer to participate in the program or not. You also have an opportunity, because we're asking you, say here now in September, to project what you think that you may sell. By the time January comes around, you may have had further discussions with people and maybe found additional opportunities. So at that time, you have a chance to fine tune the number of birds that you're applying for. So that's that process. We want everyone to succeed that does move forward with the program. So we have a lot of different learning tools, because everyone learns differently. I found that out through one of the other projects that I worked with the CFO. Everyone's got a different area or a learning preference. I'm very hands-on. My wife is very much a reader. She gets a manual and she reads through it. I just plow ahead. But we've got e-learning. We've got on-farm coaching, providing the environment is set for that. If not, we'll be doing virtual coaching. We've got mandatory videos that you'll have to watch. We do workshops. We'll be doing workshops next spring, the same as we did this past spring, just to make sure that you're to help start teaching you the processes that we go through. We've done webinars. One of the most important tools that we do provide is a closed Facebook group, and that's aimed at the artisanal farmers sharing information with each other, and it's worked very well over the last few years. every year. It seems to be one of the conversations that comes up because we got new people entering is, how do you get a sticker to stick to a frozen piece of chicken or a frozen chicken bag? People have worked through that. So rather than me go and find the resources, I let the people that lived it day to day answer those types of questions. So it's worked really well, and it's a great resource. I mentioned before that you participate in our on-farm food safety and animal care program, and we do audit those programs each year. Your coach is responsible for making sure that you're ready for that audit, and they do a really good job of that. And I don't want people to become overstressed when they hear that word audit. People think of financial audits and the hair goes up on the back of their necks and they get all stressed out. I always encourage people to look at this as a continual improvement tool. We all tend to get into habits and develop bad habits, and it's great to have a second set of eyes come and look at your operation, point out something that could be done better or needs to be done in a different manner. So it's really there to, again, help you, the farmer. The on-farm food safety and animal care program are well designed to suit this type of program as well. The free range portion allows for different production practices. This is a national program, so it has to fit farmers from BC to Newfoundland, and there are lots of different ideas in between those two areas on how to best raise chicken. So whether you're doing a barn that has a pasture area outside, and the birds going back in at night, or you're using portable movable huts with an electrified fence around it to help protect from predators. The programs allow for that. So, and the other thing is the different breeds. There is no breed that is prescribed by this program. If you want to do a slow growing bird, versus the white rock bird that most people are doing, we have no problem with that. We've got several farmers that use some of the heritage birds like the chanticleers for this program. Obviously with a slower growing bird, they also have to be able to find a market that's willing to pay the extra, because it does take much more time and more feed to get that bird to a market weight. We had a brand new range bird introduced into Ontario this summer. So it's been interesting to see how people have adapted to it. It's a little bit slower growing, but it seems to be doing really well with good livability. So you get to decide as a farmer what breed it is that you want to use. Our programs do show you what you do need to do to be able to make sure that you keep disease out, that make sure that you're ready for emergencies. And as I like to quote Bill Revington, who used to be a participant in the chicken industry, we want you to make sure that your farm is camera ready. So if someone was to come onto your farm, obviously it'd be someone that you would want to invite onto your farm. They took pictures. There should be nothing that ends up in that picture that you wouldn't be proud of. And so part of these programs is making sure that what you're doing on your farm meets the consumer expectation. And that's who you need to be concerned about, because you're going to be selling these birds yourself. So you need to, and your consumer, because this is you're going to get a premium for these birds. Your consumer wants to understand about what your practices are. I've already mentioned the OFSAP and ACP. It's a national program. Really positive results and positive feedback from the artisanal farmers that have gone through this audit process. Many of them will use their certificates and actually post them either in their stores or at their market stalls, or share that online, showing that it's not the Wild West. They have a third-party audit, someone coming in and making sure that they're doing everything to make sure that the food is safe, the animals are well looked after. And so that's an important part of the program. When it comes to marketing, it's really almost endless where an artisanal farmer can market their birds. Whether you decide to do farmers markets, have your own store, online marketing was huge this summer with COVID. Several farmers took advantage of some of the government grants to set up their online stores. Hopefully those type of grants stick around for a little while. You can sell to an independent food store. Health food stores have taken in freezers with artisanal birds in it. Butcher shops actually have one farmer who has developed a relationship with the fitness center that she was going to, and through conversation, the owners of the fitness center liked what they heard, liked what they saw about how they were raising it. And again, people that attend a fitness center are people that care about their bodies and what they put in it. So it was a good match for a small commission that basically covered the hydro of running a small freezer. They were able to put a freezer of their artisanal chicken in the fitness center and sell to patrons of that establishment, which worked out really good. We want to make sure that you understand risks and manage those properly. There are CFO regulations, and then there are non-CFO regulations. So when I'm talking about non-CFO regulations, if you're running a foods on-farm store, it falls under, is considered a food premise. So then you're dealing with your local health unit to make sure that you're falling within their regulations. They're the same people that if you were doing a farmer's market, that you would be working with the local health unit to make sure that your food handling and your storage when you're on site is up to par. When it comes to transporting the poultry, live bird falls under the Game Food Inspection Agency. So we teach you on what needs to be done to make sure that you don't run afoul of CFIA. When it comes to transporting the processed meat back to your establishment or to the end consumer, that falls under the OMAFRA regulations. So we try to teach you all about those regulations so that you are successful as a chicken farmer as part of this program. We always have lots of information posted up on our website. As an artisanal chicken farmer, you have access to a farmer member area where we have additional information posted. That's where you'll access any forms that you need, any material. We have things up there like if you were interested in Foodland Ontario, I've got the instructions on how you apply to that under marketing. And we've got several other documents posted up in the marketing section as well. But that's there as well as a resource for you. So that ends my presentation. I see that we just had a question come in, so we'll go right to that. So the question is, does the land that the artisanal chicken is produced on have to be owned, or can it be a relative and or rented land? So it does need to be owned. If it is a relative that you are renting the land from, and that relative is willing to hold the license and then have you appointed as the farm manager, and the communications go through you, we're good with that. If you're renting from someone that is not a family member, that is not allowed. Reason being is we've all dealt with this over the past, that and quite often we have renters that they're there today and they're gone tomorrow, but they leave their pets behind, or any animals that they've got on the farm. So we just cannot open the program up to that type of liability. So that's why we do not allow it to be on rented land that's not, that there isn't a family connection there too. Another question has come in: are you required to process all the chickens at once, or can the amount be spread out over a few months, assuming chick availability? Excellent question. That's up to you. I have farmers that will do all of their production in one growing period, or they get them all in at once, and they take them to the processor. Obviously, you need to make sure that the processor can accommodate that many. I also have farmers that, because of the end market, they're after, what they're doing is they're supplying restaurants that have now reopened. And that restaurant wants a fresh bird. Some of them are placing birds every second week and doing it that way. So every 2 weeks they're going to the processor, so they've got fresh birds to supply to their restaurants. So it really depends on what you want to do. There's a lot more expenses to going and doing that last example where you're placing birds every couple of weeks, because you're not, the number of times that you can reuse the infrastructure that you've built is dramatically lower. Most people will say say if they're doing 600 birds, they'll do three flocks of 200 when they'll start them in the brooder. Once they move birds out onto the range, when those range birds are just about ready to process, they'll bring their next batch into the brooder, so that when the range birds have gone to market, they've got more range birds or birds to go out. So they're making better use of the infrastructure. And as a new artisanal farmer, I always encourage people to try to limit the amount of cash outlay that you have in the first year. Make the best use of the facilities. And then once you're comfortable that you've got a good, strong market and you want to continue on the next year or the year after that, then that's the time when you start to go out and you look at, what can I invest in to make my facilities better? There are ways to be much more efficient. A lot of people will start off with, say, jug drinkers, as this is an example, jug drinkers, and then move on to bell drinkers, and then they eventually put in a closed system, a nipple line. So they've made different investments over a period of 2 or 3 years that help them not spend as much time, especially as their production grows. You want to make sure that you're able to find efficiencies. So I'm hoping that question is answered. I will touch on one extra thing, because we're getting close to the end of the time, is that it's really important to, and you'll see that as part of the application, we ask that you've touched base with a hatchery to make sure that there is chick availability for when you would want to do your production. Make sure that there is processing space. Some of the processors are booking next year's production already, especially with the amount of extra birds that were bought this year. We're finding that the processing end is really tight. I had a lady call me 2 weeks ago who had bought chicks on her chick day and thought, and she's done this for years, and had in her mind that at 6 weeks that she would call up the processor and have the birds in there. Well, when she did call, she found out she couldn't get birds in for an extra 2 weeks. So she called me and said, how do I keep these alive? Because she was worried that they were going to start having heart attacks as they grew bigger and bigger. So we talked about some techniques that she could use to keep the birds healthy and alive. So it's important to make sure those connections are made.
Yeah, very good, Carl. When you mentioned about some artisanal farmers grow and evolve over time, I'd add that one actually grew right into being a new entrant chicken farmer, having gained the experience and developed passion for being a chicken farmer. They applied to the new entrant chicken farmer program and are now a new entrant, having started as an artisanal farmer. So the sky's the limit in terms of markets and being a chicken farmer, but started out as artisanal. Are there any more questions from anyone?
And as Linda just posted, if you've got any questions for Chris or I, our contact information is available through our booth. Feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to be online for most of the rest of the week. Chris is going to be back online on Thursday afternoon, I believe.
Yep.
So we're around and we're here to ask questions.